These things are no longer problems for me anymore. Yes, sometimes I have kind of a down day, or sometimes I feel like restless and hard to focus, but these things are like 5 to 10% of what they were before. They've reduced by over 90% from when they were actually bad, which is insane. It's a massive, like, night and day difference. All right, so today I'm going to be talking about how I overcame my depression and ADHD. And if you're a regular viewer of this channel, this is probably not going to be what you expect. On this channel, I give a lot of kind of meditation and general psychotherapy, healing type advice. And this stuff has been massive for me. This stuff has been huge, obviously. That's why I'm putting it out there. It has been like the major theme of my life, studying meditation, studying different types of healing and growth modalities. But what I really want to drive home in this video is that everybody's healing journey is unique to them. And what is going to make one person well, what's going to help one person overcome whatever challenges they're facing, it might not be the right thing for another person. Now, that being said, a lot of the stuff I teach on this channel, I teach because it's pretty universal. It may not be the best route for everyone, but it can be really supportive, and it can really give us the tools and the understanding to make it through the really difficult times and to get on a good life track. Okay, so let me start out by explaining that yes, I was very depressed and had extremely bad ADHD for many years. I think in my 20s I had these things, but I lived a very fast-paced lifestyle and I was like partying a lot. I was very social. And that kept me from really realizing the depth to which these things were bothering me. I was able to create a lifestyle for myself where these things weren't such big problems. But as soon as I would slow down, as soon as I would have kind of a quiet night, I could really feel the restlessness. I could really feel the depression. And that's what really led me to exploring so many avenues to try to help myself. So just after turning 30, I had a really big psychedelic experience. And the lesson was very much about getting back on track, getting back on a real meaningful path in life based on the things I was most interested in, the values I was most resonant with. And these things were really kind of the meditation, the healing, all of that type stuff. So that experience really forced me to slow down. I actually stopped drinking, stopped partying. I was going out partying at least like 2-3 nights a week before that. I was very social. I was always doing stuff, but that stuff really no longer felt right anymore. It felt like it was time to move on and really slow down. And I really got into my meditation practice again. And that was incredibly supportive, incredibly helpful and meaningful during that time. But I was still very much depressed, very much struggling with ADHD, with a severe sense of restlessness. In my early 20s, I loved reading. I read so many books. And now I could barely get through a page. It would take me so long. So I knew these things needed to be confronted, and I literally tried everything. I had a very strong background in psychotherapy. I had been in training programs. I had had many amazing therapists. I really knew what I was doing in that realm, so I was definitely engaging in therapy. I even joined a men's group, a really fantastic men's group, and that was extremely supportive, extremely helpful. I did a lot of psychedelics, mostly ayahuasca, doing it in a very traditional ceremonial context, really for healing. And then I also meditated a lot. I went on a lot of meditation retreats. I practiced every day because I really needed it. Like I didn't know what else to do with myself. It was definitely not easy, the meditating, but I was extremely motivated in the sense of I really didn't want to feel so stuck. But even with that motivation, I wasn't feeling like it was helping that much. Like it was just kind of keeping me afloat, you know? I remember going on a 7-day silent meditation retreat and just feeling like everything was getting worse, feeling like my thoughts and ADHD were getting worse, feeling like I was getting more depressed. And by the time I came off the retreat, I didn't feel any better. And I also didn't really feel like it helped in any noticeable way. So I was really feeling kind of hopeless. Now, I will say the major help during this time, the thing that was most supportive was my mindfulness practice. And that is a lot of what I teach on this channel. It's understanding our thoughts, understanding our feelings and how they interact with each other, and bringing more clarity and equanimity to these things. So yes, equanimity was massive. That's why I've done so many videos on it. if there's one skill that we should all, strive to learn, or an area we should, strive to improve in, I think is the cultivation of equanimity. Or at least I think that's the most universal, where I think every individual may have something else that's, more pertinent at that moment, but we can all benefit from exploring and deepening our equanimity. Okay, all that being said, what actually got me out of the depression and ADHD? Because these things are no longer problems for me anymore. Yes, sometimes I have kind of a down day, or sometimes I feel like restless and hard to focus, but these things are like 5 to 10% of what they were before. They've reduced by over 90% from when they were actually bad, which is insane. It's a massive, night and day difference. They are so extremely manageable. They are definitely not problems anymore. And so what actually worked was changing my whole life, was actually becoming a therapist, doing this, what I'm doing now, which is helping people, creating content that's truly meaningful to me. It's not really about creating the content. It's about living my values, about figuring out what is most important to me, what I care about most, what impact I want to have on others, on the world, and making that the priority in my life. I can tell you when things were bad, this was not the priority. My priority was to just stay afloat, to make myself feel better, to find, whatever would be helpful to me, whatever would help me, get on track. But after really trying everything and still feeling extremely stuck, I asked myself the question, can I still live a meaningful life even if I don't overcome this? So before I was really about escaping, about overcoming, about trying to just feel better on a day-to-day basis. But then I realized, okay, I tried everything. And even if I never overcome this, even if I feel like horrible crap every day, which I did, could I still live a decent life or a meaningful life? And I decided, yes, I could, that I was really into psychotherapy. I was really into meditation, all these healing things. I was very knowledgeable about these things. And so maybe I could just help people. So I became a therapist. I went back to school, actually my third time going back to school for psychotherapy. I'd previously done a few years at 2 different schools. But this time I was like, no, this time I really want it. This time I'm going to finish. The other times I was very young and I wasn't ready to actually shift into being a therapist. I was more just wanting to learn. I more just needed more engagement with something I found meaningful in my life. But this time I actually wanted to change my life. I actually wanted to start helping people, start working with people. And I will tell you, this process of going back to school and then starting to see clients was not easy. It was very daunting, because I worried, how could I possibly have the energy to do this? I could barely get anything done. I can barely read a page. How am I going to do all the readings for school? But when I really checked in, I knew that this was something I had to do, and that knowing allowed me to overcome those hurdles. And yes, it was hard, but the energy always came. I'm sure I could have done better in a lot of areas had I had more energy and focus, but that wasn't the point. The point was that I could do this, and I knew I could do this, and that belief and knowing that I didn't really have another choice in life, that was what allowed me to get through, the years of school, which I was still very depressed in school. And it was when I started seeing clients that things started to shift, and they didn't immediately get better, not at all, but I was able to find the energy to be there for my clients, able to be extremely present for them. And in no area of my life could I be present. My ADHD was so bad. I was so unfocused. But when I'm face to face with a person and they're telling me, their most difficult challenges in life, I will be present with them. And so that was really amazing. It really saved me. And it's funny that sometimes my clients are worried they're burdening me with things, or, they're like, oh, I'm sorry to bother you. But it's I always tell them, I love this, even if I could make more money doing something else, I would be doing this. This is exactly what I want to be doing with my time, with my life. If I was incredibly wealthy, I would still be seeing clients, because that really gives me meaning. It really focuses my energy, and it really makes my entire life better outside of that as well. And so when I stopped worrying about like, how can I make myself feel better? And instead, how can I be of service, or how can I be, deeply aligned with my values and really living my values? That was the big shift that led me on the right track, that slowly over, it was at least a year of seeing clients before I really noticed like the depression and the ADHD starting to fade. And they just continued to fade over the years. And now it's like, I would definitely, I don't know if I would test positive for ADHD now. I'm sure depending on who would test me, because I still have the symptoms, but they're really not pronounced. I'm really able to overcome them now, not just because I'm on track, but because of all the other, skills that I utilize, the ones I teach on this channel, the ones I teach in my Meditation for ADHD course. Now, the thing is, these skills, they worked for me so much better once I was on a true life path for myself. When I wasn't on the life path for myself, when I wasn't really honoring, what I wanted to do with my life, or what I felt like the calling to do with my life, in those times, the skills were essential, but they just kept my head above water, right? They just kept me from kind of drowning in the depths of the ADHD and depression. But once I really got on track, really started seeing clients, then these skills, the strategies, the ones especially I teach on this channel and in my Meditation for ADHD course, those really began to work so much more powerfully. So yes, now I am not depressed anymore, which is phenomenal, because I was depressed for many years. Nothing ever felt good. Every day was a slog. Every day was so heavy. I never had energy to do anything. I used to tell people that I was always tired and didn't sleep well just because I felt like they could see how heavy I was feeling all the time. Almost like that, on that verge of crying, where you're just feel that just deep, heavy welling up of whatever, but it's just there. There's no release for it. It doesn't go away. Nothing made it go away. It was really just getting on my life path, really aligning with my values and doing the hard work, making a lot of sacrifices, giving up things I was attached to, comforts I was attached to before, to really just live a life not so much for my own comfort, but a life that I find meaningful. That was the big thing. That is what shifted everything. That is the most important thing, I think, for most people. Now, I will say that I found a lot of existential and depth psychology really helpful and comforting during this time. The school I was in happened to be a school of kind of integrative depth psychology, existential psychology, and that stuff was massive for me. And my favorite is James Hollis. He is just a brilliant author. He's written so many great books, and his podcast appearances are really great too. Just hearing him talk, speaking about these things is so comforting to realize this is a normal, healthy thing that usually with adults, sometime in midlife, life just stops working for us. We're not happy anymore. The things that used to bring us comfort no longer bring us comfort. And then we're like, what do I do? And it's a real calling to re-examine our values, to look deeper and to ask ourselves, what kind of life do we want to be living? What do we want to be doing? How do we want to be impacting the world? How do we want to be engaging in our relationships? So this type of contemplation was extremely helpful for me. It was very comforting, and also great to just read James Hollis and hear about all the different clients he's worked with, hear how difficult it is for everyone to go through this time, this midlife transition, to find a deeper sense of meaning, a deeper sense of alignment with ourselves, with our values. On my Substack, this has kind of been the main theme I've been writing about. I've written a few articles on my Substack, really encouraging people, just saying, hey, if your primary driver is not in alignment with the collective good, meaning that you're not contributing to the world in a way that is making the world a better place, or at least not making the world a worse place, then you're probably not going to be happy. You're not going to find some sustainable sense of well-being, right? It's not even about happiness. It's just about feeling okay with our lives, feeling like I am on track, I am in the right place, doing the right thing, everything is all right. If we keep prioritizing our own kind of comforts, or our own, whatever it is, social status, or whatever it is that we're, drawn to, which we're all drawn to these things, right? There's nothing wrong with trying to seek, comfort in the world, but we can't make that our primary driver. our primary driver has to be taking the larger world into consideration. We have to be thinking bigger than ourselves. And when we do that, when we are not the center of our decision making, but we are a part of it, right? Not to say we put ourselves below, but we factor ourselves in. We factor in the people around us and the things we care about. And then we make decisions based on what is best for everyone, including ourselves. It's this thing that like helping others is helping ourselves, right? That when we can be there for others, support others, do meaningful things in the world, even not just for others, it could be for animals, it could be for nature, but something that's meaningful, something that's, contributing to the world in a meaningful or positive way. There are so many ways of living that are not in harmony with our environment, with other people, that are, potentially destructive to other people or our environment. And so to take these things into consideration and to live with a sense of integrity, with a sense of, I know that I am aligned with some good, meaningful values, that is like so important for well-being. It's so not talked about in this kind of mental health space. We have a very individualistic sense of mental health, or at least the kind of Western model is built around this individual well-being, but it does not work like that. Like we're really kind of social creatures, and we really need to find a sense of collective well-being. We need to be contributing to a collective well-being. We need to be living in a reciprocal relationship with the world, meaning we take or we receive from the world, which we all need to, just basics like food and shelter. We need to receive from the world, but we also need to give. We need to offer something. And it doesn't need to be this big thing. You don't need to become a therapist, although maybe that is something you want to do. It's more about just recognizing our impact in even the smallest ways, right? That every interaction we have with another human being is meaningful, right? If we show up judgmentally and kind of closed down and uncaring towards others, they're going to feel that, even if it's a subtle thing. But if we show up in care, in presence, in relationship that we feel is meaningful, that like, hey, we're all in this weird, crazy, chaotic world together, and to just show up with that care and presence, even in a subtle way. We don't even need to say it or name it or express it, but just to be present in a caring way, that is impactful, right? We have so much more impact than we realize. We often think we need to do these big, wondrous things to have impact, but we're always having impact. So just trying to be more patient, a little more compassionate, a little more present with others is extremely impactful for them, but also for us. This is the beauty of it. This is the beauty of doing things for others and caring for others, is that we have a positive impact on them. It has a positive impact on us. Some people say, oh, you're just doing like nice things because, it makes you feel good about yourself, and that's selfish too, but it's not. It's the beauty of doing nice things for others, is that it impacts them positively. We feel good about it. It's a win-win. It's beautiful. This is what people really need to realize, is that the best thing we could do for ourselves is to care for others, to care for the world. And that selfish pursuits of like wealth or social status or whatever the selfish pursuit is never going to satisfy. And we see this all the time with the wealthiest or most successful people in the world. They're no happier than normal people. And in fact, they're a lot less happier than people who typically care for others, who have meaningful relationships, who offer something to the world that makes the world a bit of a better place. All right, so that's what I had to say. If you're not already subscribed, you can subscribe, leave a comment. I would love to hear from you. And check out my Substack, link below. I've been writing a lot there lately and will continue to write there. It's kind of another fun outlet when I'm not in the mood to record videos or don't have a good space to record videos. Oh, and I also have a Patreon where I do bi-monthly kind of these meditation discussion groups where we definitely talk about this type of thing. And we also meditate and just kind of explore what's alive for us in the moment and how we can, work with that and express it and, feel connected with others in whatever is true for us in the moment. So that's on my Patreon. You can subscribe there for as little as $5 a month, or of course more is appreciated. And you get access to that group, and I would love to have you there. It's a great little group. And that's it for now. I hope you're well. I hope you find in your life whatever you need to continue your growth and your sense of meaning and purpose and to really align with your deepest sense of values. Thank you for tuning in.